He's John Ryan.
And he is Jonathan Prince.
And together we are...
What are we?
Brutally Johnest.
Brutally Johnest. You said that. You said it so with such conviction. You said it, man. I still got my glasses on. I was going to not wear my glasses today. See if I could read around. It's out there somewhere, isn't it? What's happening? What's your tune? Give me a tune.
Oh, my tune, man. Well, first off, where are we at, man? It's week, 9 now of the lockdown. It's the...
Is it week 9 of lockdown? I know it's December.
Week 9 of lockdown is the 2nd of June, man. And today has another name today that's been attributed, which is Blackout Tuesday. So the tune that's been on my mind today, I'm only going to play a little bit of this and then I'll explain what it is. So...
Until the philosophy which old one race superior and another.
So this has been on my mind because and some of what we're going to talk about today is the events that have occurred since the unfortunate death of George Floyd in
Well, it wasn't an unfortunate death, man. Come on, tell it like it is. Since the man was murdered.
The man was murdered, mate.
There you go.
The man was murdered fully.
You go to a BBC newsreader. Since the unfortunate death, the man, they killed him in public, in daylight, on film, in front of an audience and the whole world, and didn't even look guilty when he was doing it.
Well, this is it, and I don't want to cite many other people. We're being brutally honest in this, and it's going to be, I think, with the title of what we've got, the demographic of who we are, we need to talk about some of these things.
Do it.
That particular song there, many people don't necessarily know. Many people will know it as a song called War by Bob Marley. But what many people don't know is that Bob Marley actually took the lyrics from Marcus Garvey, who was a black civil rights activist, and he took the lyrics from one of his speeches and put them word for word into that song. So the best way.
That's a bit lazy, though, isn't it? That is a bit lazy. Come on, Bob. Write your own songs, mate. Write your own songs or do a decent cover. Don't just kind of go into like the shop and look at a poster and go, yeah, I'll put some tune to that.
Well, we saw in the last one, man, when you write your own song, sometimes you forget your own lyrics. So
you did kind of.
I think he did all right there. But yeah, basically the point I want to make is that song is talking to things that are very relevant today, man. It starts off by expressing until the philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abundant. Everywhere is war. And I believe those things are coming true or have been true since it was said by Marcus Garvey, since it was rewritten by Bob. And we're living some of those things now with the protests and subsequent riots occurring across America.
Yeah. It's what do you do? But the thing people have to remember about Bob Marley, of course, though, it wasn't a mixed race.
I believe it was, yes.
So why you got to claim him for you? What about our bit? What about our contribution?
Mate,
I'll
claim you as well.
Bro.
I'll claim you as well, bro. If you want to come in, come in, mate. You know what I mean? It's all love.
Cultural appropriation, mate. You're going, yeah, he's ours. Nah, come on. We've got to share him. Like, we have to share him, like separated parents. You can have him at weekends.
You know what I mean? If you want to come in, mate, you can come in. Do you know what I mean? But you've got to be willing to accept everything that comes with that.
It's difficult because it's hard, man. But what do you say? What can we say about what's gone on? They killed the man in public in broad daylight. Woo!
I don't know, man. I suppose one thing I can say, which I feel I'm in a relatively good position to. The first thing I'm going to say is the opinions that I expressed during this are the opinions of my own. They're not.
Who are you working for?
I'm not talking for black people. Is what I'm saying. I'm not talking for black people. Like
why not?
Across the
planet. But you are one, mate. Come on, but you are one. Surely you can speak for one, mate.
I'm talking for myself, from my experience. You understand? But
so that's going to be your English boy experience.
Well, you say that.
People thinking you're white English. Is that what you're telling me? Is that where it's coming from?
Well, I suppose the real is this, right? There's certain people that have been saying today. There's been a lot of stuff on Facebook. I come to this call with kind of a heavy heart, man. Not least because of what's going on in America, but then also seeing those whom are trying to not be silent and try and be part of the change, but somehow in expressing what they're expressing, they come across as ignorant and don't necessarily realise it. So, for example, one of those such things is people whom are expressing how can you say Black Lives Matter, all lives matter? Now, on that note, I just want to put it out there that my understanding of this is, yes, of course, all lives matter. Of course, all lives matter. Definitely. However, the point we're trying to labour at the moment is it appears that Black lives matter less and or don't matter in certain regions of the planet. And hence why people are saying Black Lives Matter. It's not to deny, because I am proud of being black, for example, and this is taken from a Solange album, so it's not my own words, but because
it's not Bronski beat, though, is it?
It's not Bronski.
It's a change for you, mate, isn't it?
Because, you know what I mean? Like, we've joked a lot over this show, innit, about that, but, like, serious, man, like, just because I'm proud of being black doesn't mean that I'm, like, anti-white. That's not, them two things don't, it's not like two sides of a coin, man. So that's one thing I wanted to get out there. The other thing is, I'm just going to quickly play my second track, man, because this is very apt. It came out maybe 4 years ago. And
has he written it himself, or is this another one of it? He's read the back of a tin of beans.
Well, this one
This song starts with haricot, beans, and tomato sauce and sugar. I'm not having it. I'm not having it, mate. It's got to be a proper song.
Haricot beans, you know. You couldn't think of a more English white food there. Butter beans, maybe. Butter beans.
Butter beans.
So right, I'm just going to play this quick. Hopefully the chorus will kick, and then I'll.
Music is such a powerful catalyst for change because it touches core.
I've done it again, man. I've played it at the wrong side, the wrong place of the track.
At least you're consistently bad. You know, it's not like
in a song like "What's Going On," Marvin Gaye gave us the words.
Sorry, mate. I'll edit this out. I'll edit your awkward face out.
Come on, I can talk again.
I'll tell you. But this is the lyric right on the chorus. He basically asked the officer, look.
The officer, can you spare some change? Change the way that you look at me straight.
And I'm going to post that in the links below, man. But basically he's talking, Mr. Officer, can you spare some change? Change the way that you look at me strange. Change the way that you've been taking names and then placing the blame on me. And it's like, it resonates with me because the same way we saw George Floyd begging to be able to breathe and for the copper to take his knee off his neck, and, you know, he's begging for his life, calling out for his mum. It's the same sort of sentiment that I take from this track, man. Like, the subsequent events, let's not talk about them as yet, but I mean, it's just a basic human rights, you know, that people are begging for, to the chance to live, which I think is the same across the planet, right? Everyone should have the chance to live. So yeah, that's my second tune, man. DJ Jazzy Jeff. Track's called Mr. Officer. It's a lovely one to listen to. Really cool track.
That's liven things up, isn't it? That's really like, woo, up the energy in that discussion. You sitting in my roast and like, when there's another one that's like, come on.
No, man, I mean, it's a great time, man, in the respect of to be alive and to be able to actually say something. I realise there was a little quote that came out a couple of days ago. I'm not going to bore you with quotes again, mate, because I know it's got to be sharp for you to stay in on it. But this quote basically says, my friend Maud once said, there are times when we must speak, not because you are going to change the other person, but because if you don't speak, they have changed you. And I think at these times, man, everyone's got a bigger voice. I suppose looking on Facebook today, it's kind of annoyed me, man, to see people with the voice, and some things I could take as, like, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier about the Black Lives Matter versus All Lives Matter thing. On one side, it's kind of denying a point, and everyone has their opinion, easily shared nowadays. But I do think it's about talking to each other, and we're having a dialogue between you and I.
Yeah, but what I don't understand is how you can respectfully quote someone who starts off with your friend Maud. Who's got a friend called Maud? We didn't hang around with pensioners. My friend Maud.
That's very true.
Maud! I'm talking about you, Maudie. Maudie! Mate.
That's like Ethel, isn't it? It's one of them their names.
Ethel! Tell Maud! I'm on the telly. What's going on, man? What fascinates me, though, as ever, why are you always looking to America for your influences?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, you.
Me?
Yeah, you played another track by another American. My finger must come really big on the screen then. Right, we got some. Let me play my tune. Right, this man is just
I
one
can't
of the
believe.
greatest
Hold on, before you
lyricists.
play your tune. No, you can't do that to me. You can't just say to me, "Why am I always trying to get my influences from
Bit of
America?"
Maccabee, mate. Maccabee. He's your man. He sings about vegan food. He sings about race dynamics. You must be quick to miss a lick from a hockey stick. The man was got it. Maccabee.
Did you actually play the track then? Have you actually got it
Yeah, I
going
did,
through
but you just
speakers?
talked over it, so I'm not going to do it again. You're going to have to get it later.
It sounded like you
But
were
yeah,
playing it out of your phone, mate. Have you got it going through speakers?
no. I've got him sitting here next to me, tied up. He's just poked him. He just started singing it.
I thought as
We
much.
put that down. But let me tell you the track that we have to start the debate discussion with, right?
Go on.
Okay. So Joyner Lucas, right? He came out with this track a few years ago, and everyone must know it, right? It's basically just a black rapper singing it from a white racist point of view, and then answering it as a black man, right? And in doing that, what he's doing is, he's recognizing what the other guy is saying, recognizing, not accepting, but recognizing. Because if you don't listen to what your enemy is saying to you, you're never going to know. You don't learn by talking, you learn by listening. And one of the things that he says is, you'd rather sell drugs than get a job and be straight than you turn around and complain about the poverty rate. And that, in my time when I've been to America, some of the reading I've done, some of the views I've even heard in this country, white people and Asian people will say, yeah, black people, they moan, they complain, they can't get a job, and then they'll sell drugs. And that's a very real perception. That's part of the problem that we have, is this perception, okay? When you talk about Black Lives Matter, all lives matter. No. At the moment, Black Lives Matter. And the way I've been explaining to people is, there's a white man with a big meal in front of him at the table and 4 hungry black people sitting around, and he's stuffing his face, right? And one of the black people says, black people get hungry. And he goes, yeah, white people get hungry too, and carries on eating. And the big problem that I have with this whole thing with George Floyd is quite simple, okay? The man got murdered on television, in public, in broad daylight, with witnesses filming it, and they don't care, right? And now all these, this is why it is a black issue fundamentally, because it's all well and good, all these middle-class white people on Facebook putting up black pictures today, or saying, oh, I get it. No, you don't, mate. You don't get it. Because tomorrow I can walk down the street and the police car will go straight past me, but you can't. And that's where people got to understand it. That's where it comes into it.
And I think that's a very good point as well, because I work. It's funny because you say that, because I actually work in the pharmaceutical drug industry, which doesn't really do much for that for that stereotype that you just mentioned.
Break shirts up, mate. Break shirts up.
But like, I work with a lot of educated people. They're all none of them are like, they're not racist in any way. But when I express to them, or they ask me, oh, but you don't get racism anymore, it's not a thing anymore. Like, they're just not, that it isn't something that they're exposed to. So that doesn't anger me that they think that. If anything, it disappoints me that, what was it? I think, I've looked this up before we got into this call. March 1991, Rodney King got set upon by a load of LA police officers, and it was caught on surveillance CCTV camera. People didn't have camera phones back then. And I think Will Smith said something recently. Now, I don't know whether he actually said this, because you get these memes and they've got writing.
Yeah.
Right, but it's attributed to him, and it kind of says that racism hasn't got worse. It's just got recorded.
Like, but who cares? Who cares, mate? All right, so you got me on film. Who cares? And what? And this is where the problem comes. This is where it comes. There's the 2 separate parts of it. First of all, let me tell you. Last year, I went to Grenada, and I've been there a few times. Love the place. Last year, about 20 of us went, and one of the guys that came with us is 22 years of age, mixed race boy from London, from the hood. And when we was on our way there, I said to him, what are you looking forward to? And he said, it'd be nice to be sunshine, blah, blah, blah. But it'd be nice to be able to walk down the street and not be stared at because people don't trust me. And I watched that boy grow over the 2 weeks we were there, because for the first time in his life, he saw black policemen, and he saw on the news, it was black newsreaders, and he realized that this was a whole country run by people of color. Right? He'd never had that in his whole life. My son, who was with me, he made an interesting observation. He said, isn't it nice how friendly and welcoming everyone is to us? Wouldn't it be nice to think that everyone would be that friendly and welcoming to Mikey when we're in the UK? And I said to him, problem is, when Mikey's in the UK, he's at the bottom role in society. When we come here, we're white European tourists. So we have something to give.
Mm-hmm.
We have something, you know? And it's those little nuances that people don't quite understand. That's where it goes wrong.
And this is it. I mean, something as simple as when I grew up, I remember when I used to, like, we as black people, we grease our hair, right? So when I've got my afro now, I've applied grease to my hair. So to touch it, it will be greasy. Otherwise, it would be mad dry. It's just a thing, right? Our hairs are different, right? But I remember in work, there was a situation whereby someone come up and said, "Oh, can I touch it?" And I didn't want them to touch my hair. And to be honest with you, the main reason is because I remember what happened when I was a kid when that happened, and someone would put their hand in your hair, they'd see the grease on their hand, and they'd kind of go, ugh, and wipe their hand on their leg as if to say your hair's nasty and dirty. And I didn't want that experience to be lived with as an adult. You know what I'm saying? And that's the exact experience that happened. That's the exact experience that happened. Like, I said no. They said, "Oh, go on." I said no. As I said no a second time, they put their hand in my hair and they're wiping their hand on their trousers, and like, oh, that's disgusting. And the realization is that, you know, like, things haven't really changed as much as I'd have expected them to, or
Of course, they haven't changed. How long ago did Martin Luther King have that dream? Everyone knows about the dream the man had. Personally, what kind of man has them kind of dreams anyway? My dreams normally involve orgies or I can fly, right? His dream was about making a better future. And what, 50 years later, it turns out he was in the payroll of the FBI. He was humping everything that moved, and he was just a normal man like the rest of us. It's funny how we look again to America for our heroes, and we look for our role models.
well, it's funny because to me, when you said that just now about looking to America for heroes or America for, I don't personally do that. I've lived in the UK my whole life. I've travelled and in America, and I've driven in America in recent years, and I've had my white friends over in America have to sit me down and have to talk of, like, we have this thing named a four-way stop. You must stop. If you don't stop, with the colour of your skin, there is a likelihood that you could be shot. So I beg you, stop.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to have that conversation with me. But the point I'm making there is, and with the person in work, I ended up having the conversation with them, saying that kind of upset me. And they apologized, you know, and they felt really bad because they didn't realize that upset me. Right? They didn't realize, I hadn't even thought about it. And the person in America, before they spoke to me about driving the car, they expressed how bad they felt because they had to express this stuff in order to try and assist my safety. The point I'm making is, as difficult as these conversations are, they have to be had. And in not talking, in continuing to be silent and not approaching these things,
Well, what do you do? What do you do? When my son was 9 in his class at school, there was only 3 black kids in his class, right? It was a Catholic school, so obviously us white Irish took it over. That's what we do. Went on school journey. I went on a trip with them, and we went up to Westminster on a boat trip. When we was there, all our kids from our nice school were sitting on the steps, quite nicely eating their sandwiches. And then there was some school come up the stairs the other side, slightly older boys, start going, ugh, and they're nice kids, cowered. And this little boy, Brennan, little black boy, stood up and goes, "What you looking at? Well, you want to say it to me? Say it to me." I'd like to go, "Brennan, sit down." And I said to these kids, "Go and get your teacher. Tell them I'm going to smash him up, because that's how we do things. These kids are nice. I'm going to fight your teacher." The teacher came over and said, "Have you just told my children that you're going to fight me?" I said, "Yeah, they want to pick on my kids. They're bigger than my kids. I reckon I can take you. Go and explain to them what it feels like to be intimidated." And he was like, "Well, I think this is unacceptable for you to behave like this." Anyway, afterwards, I took Brennan to one side. I said to him, "Why did you feel the need to stand up?" And he said, "Because my dad told me when a man looks you in the eye, you stand your ground." And I said, "That's good." But them kids are now going to go back to their nice middle-class school in Hampshire. And when the mum says, "How'd you get on today?" they'll go, "It was all right, but this black boy and this crazy man intimidated us." It's twice as hard for you. Twice as hard for you. The teacher who was with our group said to me, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe you've done this, Mr. Ryan. You could have caused us so much trouble. His parents come up to school, blah, 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 blah." You know what? The boy's mum came up to me in the playground and said, "Thank you. Thank you for standing up to my son. Thank you for pulling him up. And thank you for reminding him of how much harder it's going to be for him than your boys." But the teacher thought I was being racist.
Well, but this is it. And to me, sometimes to shout racist covers up, it stops the conversation. It kills it dead. It doesn't allow any movement or education. And I think it's education that's needed in order for people to understand. Yes, because of the colour of my skin, certain situations may be different for me. You know, I remember my dad. This is a funny story, right? It shouldn't be funny, but like, my dad used to run a business whereby he fixed computers and that. Yeah. So he had a spare computer chair, and my best mate needed a computer chair for, like, his home. So my dad said, "Oh, well, take for this computer chair, and you can just take it." And we were like, "Oh, should we wait till after work so you can bring it in the car?" And my dad said, "It's only 100 meters away that you live. Yeah, walk with a chair, take the chair to your house." We got stopped on that 100 meters, accused, of someone had called in and said they'd seen some people stealing a chair who fitted our description.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, at that point, that was the first time I'd ever really realised. But that ain't. I was like, but that ain't true because my dad just gave me this chair. No. We've definitely had reports of people having. You stay there. Let go of the chair. We're gonna ring this up and double check. And it's like, well, ring my dad because my dad just gave me this chair. Do you know what I mean? And I remember all the way up until the point when they left, I was like, wow, that's the real. Do you know what I mean? It is just there's from where you're stood, things are going to seem different. And I think there's a responsibility for me to realise that when somebody is to say, for example, as you said earlier, do I look to America for my influence? No, I don't look to America for my influence. I could get the same kind of treatment or things here. I get the same.
But that's what people don't realise, John. That's what people don't realise. Look, Stephen Lawrence. Every time, on his anniversary, why don't we have a day named after the boy, or why don't we have an awareness thing? Look at his mum's been through, how hard she's worked tirelessly. Yeah, people still have forgotten it. What happens? I saw something today that really upset me, right? So, all these blacks going on about Georgie Floyd. What about Lee Rigsby then, yeah? Where was our march for that? Where was the demonstration for that?
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? What's that got to do with what? And why do the two have to go?
And again,
why should we march
remind
for
the people
George?
the differences is in, for example, Lee Rigsby, for those who don't remember, was the chap who was murdered outside of his barracks, right? Army barracks, is that the guy?
Yeah, in Greenwich.
In Greenwich, right? By a guy who was like a terrorist.
Two black men. Two black men. That's who did it.
With knives, right? Yeah.
Yep. Chopped him up in broad daylight in public.
Mm-hmm.
And people were filming them and they didn't care.
Mm-hmm.
Now, was that racially motivated?
I didn't follow it well enough to know whether it was racially motivated. I think
two black men killing a white man. Does that mean it's racially motivated?
To me, anyone who's going to be doing that, to me, the colour of the skin, to me, when you're having actions like that, is secondary. Anybody who's going to be in the street doing them kind of madness has some kind of issues, to me, beyond racism. You could happen to be racist, but you must have some big issues to be going expressing yourself in them ways.
So then why was the cop who killed George Floyd being racist?
So for me, I don't know how to answer that question.
Because why do we immediately go, the guy's racist? Why would we go, he's racist? Why couldn't we say that
bad cop?
Maybe he's got an inability to control his emotions, maybe he's on a power trip, maybe he's a sadist. But straight away we go, it's race. And then what happens is, it's a problem for black people. It's then you and us. Rather than everyone going, listen, they're going to do that in broad daylight. They don't care who they're going to do it to. And then, so here's where it comes back to these Black Lives Matters things. It comes back to you then, it separates the issue. And for a lot of white people, they don't know how to react because they're not called racist. They don't, when they go, yeah, but all lives matter. What they're trying to say is, yeah, I care about you and I want you to care about me as well. But what they don't understand is why you're going to go and loot a shop because a black man got killed. So all other black men are going to go start robbing trainers.
Oh no, indeed. There's two different points there. When it comes to looting, I actually had myself schooled by a friend of mine who he happens to be a white dude. It doesn't really matter. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter what color skin he was. But I said to him, it kind of frustrates me to see that like people are taking advantage of the situation. One thing that kind of bothers me is the perfect storm that at the moment we're in these times of COVID-19 and there is clearly gatherings of BAME people together whom are the most susceptible or at least disproportionately represented in the figures of deaths for COVID-19. And right now you're stuck. If I was in America, I'd be stuck between thinking, am I not standing up for myself by not going outside, or do I go outside and put myself in danger? I cannot answer how I would behave there. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a difficult place to be.